Hey, welcome to Caspio Live. It's Ned from Caspio. Let me know if you can hear me okay so that I can begin today's presentation. As always, just a quick housekeeping item before we begin. And welcome everyone to our streaming session today. As you may have known, hey Steven, I sound good? Okay, excellent. You may be wondering, why do we have a new topic? We discussed last week that we were going to do social logins with connections. However, I had to pivot quickly because I ran into a few snags along the way. We were off on Monday, and I told myself I'll put together my content on Tuesday, and I did that. However, as I said, I ran into a few issues that I felt could be improved, so I had notified and sent feedback to our development team to fix a few things before we bring back that topic for connections and social media login. I promise we will bring this topic back. But I just want it to be improved in a few areas that I noticed before we bring that topic back. Okay, I apologize. I know a lot of you are expecting to see connections and social media logins. However, I think today's topic will be just as interesting because I do receive a lot of feedback that people enjoy watching me modify forms in real time, and how do we make the forms complement our website branding. Anxious to learn about plumbing. It's not really about plumbing, even though that is my dad's area of expertise. I've done plumbing I'd say my whole life, but he's a contractor, so he does a lot of plumbing, electric work. He's got a lot of guys, and every summer him and I would, I have these memories of going underneath homes, which was a little creepy at times because you never know what could be roaming around underneath the house. But anyway, fixing a lot of pipes and valves and things like that, and also welding pipes together, which was a lot of fun. But anyway, so let's talk about today's topic. So I have 3 different examples. Okay, we have just an arbitrary random website template that I found online called Plumbers with the Z at the end. So the idea here is to simply embed a form where somebody can book a service. And you can see when you embed a Caspio form, all of our forms, all of our preloaded styles have this background color of white. And if you embed that form into your website, and your website has an image behind it or a background color, it's not going to look good, right? You can see how it conflicts with this white, then we have blue, then white again. It doesn't look as good. The fields are not aligned properly. And that's what today's topic is going to be about, modifying the forms to make them look and feel like they're part of our website so that the end user is completely unaware that you're using Caspio behind the scenes. Because our forms can't be recognizable if you've used Caspio for quite some time. So we're going to make this form look like it's part of our website. I have my second form with our education example. Just going to scroll down. You can see how the form stands out. We're going to blend this in with the background. And then last but not least, I have a search form which we're going to modify today. Now, everything today is going to be in real time, off the cuff. I did not prep. As you can see, I usually give you the before and after, but today we don't have that because I had to pivot quickly to come up with today's topic. So I literally built these forms maybe an hour before today's live stream. I embedded them into my templates, and today we're just going to see what we can do. And you can see the process that I go through to modify the forms to make them look and feel like they're part of my website. Okay, with that said, does anybody have any questions before I begin? Let me know. If not, I will just dive into today's content and we will see how we can go about modifying them. Now, let's jump into this one with the plumbing. So inside my Caspio account, I have those 3 forms created. This is the one for the plumbing example, book a service. I'm using a blue style for that one. So that's the Caspio default style of blue. We're going to create a brand new style. And then using the blue as the foundation for our new style that we're going to create. That's the one that we're going to use. And then we're going to apply that to our book a service data page. And in the end, I will hit create once I'm done modifying all of my elements. Now, on my website, I highly recommend that you guys always hit F12 on the keyboard to bring up the inspect element. I'm just going to make it part of my website. So let's merge that in with the web template, and I'll put it on the bottom. which is my preference. And we'll set this to 100% width size. Okay, so you've seen me do this before, right? So all I do here is I click on this upper left inside the inspect element so I can inspect each one of my elements on the form. And the first thing that I'll probably end up doing is removing my background color. So click anywhere and then just go to the section. And then here what you can do, you can find this class that exists inside Caspio. And all you're going to do is, let me just make sure I'm in the right place. Yeah. All you're going to do is just set the background color to be transparent. Just write out transparent, and you can see how that background color of white disappears. You're going to do the same thing for the button background because that has its own class inside Caspio. So if you're happy with this modification, you can now go into Caspio. I always like to go directly inside the source. It's easier to find all of these elements. And for my form, I know I need to go into the layout, and then you're going to be able to see that background. And all you need to do here is just type out transparent. Make sure I get the spelling right. And when you do that, just go ahead and click on create. And at this point, you can save your style as a new style. So we can just call this maybe plumbing blue style. We'll hit finish. Now I will reopen that style because I know I need to make a few more changes. But if I come back to my website and we reload, you will see how that background color of white is no longer there. Hey, Dave, welcome. All right, so the next thing we'll do is do the same thing for behind the button. So this has its own class, as I mentioned. So just find that inside Caspio. You can just copy this element and then go back into your style, into the source, and now you can just search for everything. All of the elements. Just do Control F on the keyboard, paste. Oops, did I not copy it? Let me come back here. What was it called? So CB submit button container. All right, so we'll search for CB submit button container and just write out transparent. All right, what's next? So we'll just see what that looks like in real time. Okay, so that looks good. Next thing that I would like to do is probably put my field side by side so it fills out this gap nicely. But before I do that, I'm just going to select my fields and make them look a little bit bigger just to see what that looks like. So let's just come over here and find padding. So we'll do padding. I think that's going to be a good size right there. Let's just do 20 pixels just to round that up. And then we're going to put this field side by side. We're going to put that field side by side. And my special request is going to be a text area. And we're going to make that full width. Okay, so we're going to look for CB form text field. So in Caspio, look for CB form text field. And we said we want to have 20 pixels with 10 pixels. Good enough. Okay, let me come back. All right, let's save these changes. Refresh. Okay, so now let's put the field side by side. As you guys know, I always like to put my labels inside the fields as placeholders. So we'll get to that. To make these modifications, we actually have to go to data pages. So let's navigate over to data pages and edit our form. And I want the email to be side by side with my name. So I will go to the advanced tab, say continue next element. I'll put the name, we can just type out your name maybe, as the label. And we'll say no label because I'm including my label as a placeholder inside the field. And then email, we can say your email, no label. And let's do the rest of these. So select service. Now select service is most likely going to be a drop-down. So in the standard tab, we can say drop-down. And then we'll say select service, delete the value. And then what type of service can you have? You can have, I don't know. Give me some, I should know these things, but I haven't done any plumbing work in a long time. Let's just do valve change. I'm just going to make up things. Let me two more here. Welding and toilet replacement. I don't know, something random. All right, so let's go to the advanced tab and say continue next element on the same line. we'll say no label because my label is actually part of my dropdown. So if you go back to the standard tab, you will see select service is going to be my label that's inside that field. And then we have service date. That's going to have a calendar pop-up. And then in the advanced tab, we can say service date, no label. And last but not least, we have the special request. And for that, we'll just say special request and no label. And I know for a fact that this is going to be wider, so we're going to put this in pixels, and I'm just going to guess maybe 650. Likely I will have to adjust that. Let's have a text area, and I don't really need the text area to be as tall, so maybe 2 rows should suffice. Okay, so let's hit finish and see what that looks like. So we will reload. Okay. So we still need to make a few modifications. I guess I need to add some padding before my placeholder, and I also want to make this look and feel like it's part of the form with the text field. And I know I'll definitely want to make the field width wider here. So let's edit the form. Clean this up a little bit. So we're going to measure this in pixels, and let me just see what 300 looks like really quickly. Okay, so I know that I want that to be a little bit wider. So we're going to make this maybe, let's do 325. I'm just trying to measure how much. Let's do 315 just to be safe. All right, 315. I know that I'm going to make the rest of these fields 315 as well. So book a service. And here's my field. So we'll set that to 315. We'll set this to 315 as well. This will be 315. Oops. Data service will be 315. And special request, where were we? Special request. Okay, so I need to see what it's going to be when I have both of these fields side by side. So let me hit finish and save. Reload. I mean, that looks pretty good. I know I can make the fields even wider, so I can make this width be the same width as this side. But because I'm super picky, why don't we do that anyway? Let's do 330. And let's do 330 just to see where we're at. Okay, more. So 340. Let's do 345. I know it's tedious what I'm doing at the moment, but that's really what I go through when I'm designing and trying to see. Okay, that's good enough. 345. And then for my text area, we're going to make this be the same width as the fields above. So let's do 720. So 345 and 720. So we'll edit the data page. So all of these fields are going to be 345. Like I said in my previous live streams, the most time-consuming part is if you're as meticulous as I am when it comes to design, you're going to go through these steps to make your forms look nice. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it's also fun at the same time, just so you can see how it all comes together on the front end. Okay, let me see. I think I'm good with that. Let me refresh. Okay, good. Now I just need to make my dropdown look and feel like it's part of the rest of my form. I also don't like that my placeholder, so I'm just going to add a little bit of padding there to the right and left, so I can push that out. 15, I think, is good. Yeah, I think that's fine. 15 pixels. All right, and then for my dropdown, I want to add some padding there as well. So we'll make that be 21, and then I also want this to be a little bit less, so 12 pixels. So 21 by 12 for the form select. So let's go to Style, Edit, and then for my fields, Form Select, Form Select, Form Select. Here we are. So we said 21 by 12. And then what else did we say we were going to do here? I think for the fields, text fields, we added some padding here as well. So that's 15. So let me come back here. So text field, we said 15. And let's save. And I think I'll be happy with that. Perfect. Oh, except for the button. Of course, the button needs to change as well. So now for the button, it's up to you. You can make the button, if you like the appearance of the button being full width, you can do that, or you can have the button just be here to the left of the form. You can make the button look bigger. So it's just playing around with it, right? So if I select the button, I could make the button taller, which makes sense to me. So why don't we do 50? You could also, I'm not a big fan of uppercase, as you guys know. I'm just going to remove the uppercase. And then we're going to change the font size, so it's a little bit bigger, maybe 18 pixels. 17 pixels is better. And then text align. Oh, that's text align, never mind. So we'll keep that centered, so it's inside the button, centered. And then you may decide to do a border radius to make the button a little bit more round. Let's go with maybe 5 pixels. All right, so I need to make these adjustments first. So let me go to my style, edit. We'll go to buttons in the source. So let me just find my submit button. So we said no uppercase. I set font size to be 17 pixels. We set border radius to be 5 pixels. And then what else did we do? We added some padding, I believe. How much padding did we add? I thought I had added some padding. Oh no, height 50 pixels, my apologies. So we set height to be 50 pixels. And I'm just going to copy the style and apply the same style to my hover button, which is down below. So submit hover. Okay. Paste. Now, come back here later and just change the background color to something else, because when you hover over that button, you want that color to change to something else, right? So just be sure to do that later on. So when you hover over, you want that button to change to a different color. I think that's the best way to do that. And then we're going to select this element, and we're going to say text align left. So I want the button to be positioned to the left. You can also center it if you want to. I'm just going to left align it, and then we're going to reduce the padding on the left of the button, so it's aligned with my fields. So let's make it 5 pixels. All right, so we need to find the submit button container, and that's usually here under layout. Okay, here it is. So we're going to say 5 pixels, and then we want the align to be left, and we're going to be done with this form. And save. Reload. Except for my hover button. Oh no, there it is. Just have to reload the screen. So I'm happy with this. Clear a clog. Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, that would be another good service type that we can select. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I don't mind it. If you guys would like me to make a few more changes, let me know. But I'm pretty happy with that, with the way that came out. Now, I would normally test out and see what this button would look like centered and maybe full width, just to see if I like that more. But for now, having it left aligned, I don't think there's any issues with that from my perspective. Okay, so let's move on to the education example. This one's going to also require some modification. We're going to use some opacity to bring in these icons into our fields. I think that's going to look really good. But the first thing is always we want to remove the... this is going to be incredibly helpful. Rewatch for the future. Make the hover a different color so we know it works. Make the hover different color. Okay, let's do that. I will do that very quickly. I promise you it works though. So let's go to buttons, source, and then we're going to find submit button hover. All right. So instead of using the same color as when you first hover over the button, we want to change that to something else. So I'm just going to grab this color really quickly. Okay. And I'm going to use the tool that I normally use to adjust my colors, so which is HTML color codes. So this is the color that is used on the button, but I'm going to use a slightly darker color, this one here, to make the button pop when you hover over. So let's paste that hex code and save. And now you will see a different color. So it works. And that's what I want you guys to do as well later on, because it makes more sense to do that. All right, let's move on to education. So once again, I know it's going to seem like it's repetitive, but I'm going to make this form slightly different because I want the fields also, I think, and I'll see what that looks like. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I want the fields to be transparent, and we're going to set the opacity maybe lower so that we can bring in these icons into our fields as well. So let's bring up the inspect element and let's see what we can do here. I wish I can. Okay, so what we'll do is move this. Whoops. Move this to the right. Let me see. Okay, yeah, that's better. All right, so we're going to select our form. That's under section, and we're going to again say transparent. All right, so I'm just going to make all the modifications for you guys here in the inspect element. Transparent. All right, and then we're going to select our field. Now the background color for the field, let's try to have that be maybe about 777. Okay, let's try that first, and let's add the opacity to maybe 30%. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Yeah, that's not bad. You can see we can see that background image come into our fields as well, and there's a nice contrast between the field and the background, so it looks good to me. Let's change the padding because I know my fields are going to be taller, so I'm going to add some padding there. Wow, I actually like it on the first try. All right, so let's make that 20 pixels as well. And you guys let me know if you want me to go through the same steps as I just did on the other form. I'm basically going to be repeating the same thing I did. I think I'm going to put these three fields side by side in the same row, and I want the text area underneath to appear underneath the three fields that are on the same row. And then for my submit button, again, I'm going to left align it, put the border radius, and change the, well, maybe I can keep this background color red. It's pretty similar to my other red here that I have on the right side as part of my template. And also, I think what I would like to do here is change the color of my text. So as I'm typing, let's just make sure. You know, the reason why it's coming out this color, which is fine. I don't mind. I actually don't mind this color. It's coming out that color because I changed the opacity to 30%. So I'm actually okay with that. I'm just going to change the font size to maybe be 18 pixels. Yeah, 18 pixels. Yeah, I'm okay with that. That actually looks pretty clean. Okay, so let me take this information that I just modified, copy that, and let's paste that inside the our style. So I need to create a new style for my second form, and I'm actually using the red style as the foundation. So we're going to select red, and under fields, let's just paste what we just modified. Now I also want the same thing for my text area, so let's find the text area class as well. So we're going to paste that here too, and let's save. Well, first let's create. First, let's select our form, and then let's hit create, and let's call this education np my initial style, something like that, and hit finish. All right, let's reload. Whoa, what happened? I know I forgot to change the background to be transparent. So let me do that first. Let's go back to our style and go to layout. And in the source, we're going to change this to be transparent. Okay, save. Perfect. Okay, everyone happy with the design? Let me know if this looks okay for you. I know I'm going to put the fields next side by side, but let me know if you like the background color in the fields and the transparent look with the opacity set to 30%. Now you can play around with the opacity. It's up to you. Again, design is to each their own, you know. So if I change you can see as I'm changing the opacity, if I go back to 100%, it's just going to have that background color of gray. If I set this to 10%, then it looks like that. I think I like the balance of having it at 30%. I'm living with that. I don't know what you're living with, but okay. Let me know. Elaborate if you'd like. Seems challenging to read for the user. Is it challenging to read? Maybe not from where I'm sitting, actually, but maybe. I don't know. I've seen forms like this before. To me, I think it's okay. But you can always play around with the background color as well. So if, like, let's say 7.7 is not good, we can also change that to maybe something lighter like EEE, and then just fix the opacity like that. Now the field pops even more, and you can see the text a little bit better. Once again, designing is always going to be to each their own. That's at least the way I view it. All right, let's fix the fields. Let's put them all side by side, and let's change the width of our text area. So we are going to navigate over to data pages, and this one is going to be get in touch. And we're going to put our fields. Yeah, but at least font color white FFF would pop, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. However, because I put the opacity on the field, it's also affecting the text that you're typing inside as well. It would pop more, but then you might have too much contrast. It might pop too much. So you do want to reduce the color to something less white. You know, it might be like a light gray. That would look better. But then if you have white, then I think it's conflicting too much with the background. But again, now you know how to modify it. So just go into your style and see whatever works for you and what you think is best. All right, let's put our name field. We're going to remove the label. Let's just say your name. We're going to put the next element on the same row. Email. We're going to say no label. Put in your email. Continue next element. Subject. You can say subject. And then no label. And then for the message, we'll come back to this later just to see what the width is going to be. But I'll put it for now, maybe just 650. Okay, let's hit finish and save. Reload. See what it looks like. The text is a little hard to read. So let me change the placeholder text. There is a special area. I wonder if I'll be able to do that for the placeholder to make the placeholder stand out a little bit more. Let me just see. Yeah, so the placeholder text I need to change, but there's a class for that in Caspian to change the placeholder text, and let's do that really quickly. So style, edu style, and then for errors and messages, we have placeholder text. Let's just entertain the crowd. Let's put the placeholder text to be white. I'm just going to make sure that I put my important rule here to make sure it overrides that opacity. Hopefully it will. I don't know what's going to happen, but let's find out. Does the text area have its own placeholder? It does. It was actually already set to white. I may not be able to get away with using the opacity then, because opacity affects everything inside that field. Okay, so let's save and see what we get. So I will reload my form. Yeah, so even though I put the important rule, you can see it's not white because of the opacity, right? If I change the opacity, you know, if I remove the opacity, you can see how it turns white, but now we don't bring in that background color of our image that's behind the form. So it's going to have to be one or the other, unfortunately. But to me, it's visible. I think it looks okay. That's just a personal take. And I will probably end up changing my padding here as well, like that. And I might change the width of my fields too. Yeah, for now, let's keep it the way it is. I actually don't mind the color of my placeholder and my text. I think it looks pretty good. Let's finish modifying the text area. And if we want to come back to this and revisit, we can. And I'm just going to finish my my button background to make that transparent too, and also modify my button. Okay, so let's go back to my data page, edit the form. And for my message field, I want that to be placeholder label message, and we will say no label. And now I will need to save my changes, come back and select my text area and see what the width is going to be. So let's change that to 850, 950, reduce that a little bit. Okay, so we have 913. I think that's pretty good. So let's go back to my data page, edit, and change that to 913. And save. Refresh. I always like to close my inspect element tool just so I can see what it looks like as part of my website. And honestly, I really do like this. I really do. I'm just going to change my button now settings here as well. So let me go back to my style. And I will read your comments in just a second. So let's edit the style. Let's go to layout. And for my container, for my button, I know I can find it if I do a control search, but this is just another way of doing it. All right, let's do transparent. I'm probably going to want to make some additional changes by moving the button to the left. But I believe, let me just go ahead and select my button. Let me bring my inspect element back. Select this. And just text align left. So I do want to move my button to the left. And I know this is probably going to be 5 pixels. So it left aligns with the fields. Yep, it's 5 pixels. We're going to remove the background color. So this will be 5 pixels. And we want the button to be aligned to the left. And let's save. Reload. Okay, looking really clean so far. The button needs to be bigger, obviously. I actually like this border radius. So we're going to try to match the button to have the same border radius as this one. So let's just, instead of having it that, 20 pixels is perfect. Let's change the height to maybe 50. Looking good. Again, no uppercase for me. And we're going to just change the font size. Let's bring this back to 50. Font size. Okay. I don't hate it. I actually really like this. This is better than I expected. So we are going to grab our code. Actually, I'll just modify it. I don't need to grab the code. I'll just modify it. And also, don't forget to remove the font family. If you like the text that comes with that template and you want to match the text of your form with the rest of the template, you can just remove this property for font family. You can see how it changes the text on the button. So now it's selected. If I unselect, you can see the text inherits the font family from the template, the CSS, okay? I'm just going to keep it selected because I kept everything else with the Arial font family. Okay, let's go back to our submit button container. So edit the style, submit button, and we're going to change some things here. So what did we say? 50 pixels for the height. Border radius, I think I set this to 20. Margin padding, no uppercase. And what did we set our font size to be? 17 pixels. So font size was 17 pixels. Again, we're going to copy the same style and apply this to the submit button hover class as well. We just need to find it. Here it is. And don't forget to change the background color of your button on hover effect. Save. Reload. And you would never know that this form was built with Caspio. Okay? And that's the beauty of Caspio, if you ask me, is this ability to make data pages look and feel like it's part of your website. So for both of these examples, I mean, oh, what is this button doing over here? I never noticed my calendar icon. What happened here? what happened here? Let me change this to 0. Sometimes, unfortunately, the so the template that comes with the CSS that comes with the template will override or supersede Caspio style, and sometimes you have to play around with these settings to bring back some of these elements that are originally on the Caspio form, and it's just a matter of changing the properties and values to bring it back in. Okay, so let me come back to my form and let's see what else I would like to do, if there's anything else I want to add to my form. And if you guys see something else you'd like me to modify, I'm happy to. But unless I can think of anything else, I think we can move on to the last example of today's Caspio Live session. But before I do, let me see some of these comments. LOL, thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for the feedback. Can you round the submit button edges? I think we did. We rounded them over here. So I think I did this before or after you had written that comment, Judith. Let me know. My biggest issue on deploying on client sites is their theme conflicting or overriding my styles. Yeah, and you're going to run into that. You're going to run into that. So in Caspio, what you could do is you can either remove some properties and values, and this is really just going back and forth. There's nothing you can do about that because Caspio has its own style for each one of these elements. And you might have to use the important rule to override the template style, or modify the style in the template, or modify the style in Caspio until you get that desired look and feel bin. So unfortunately, it's just going back and forth. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Judith. And there's no way around it. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. Okay. I think we can move on to our last example here, which is the search form on this template. And what I would like is to maybe make these fields a little bit wider, fit it all in here, and then put my search button underneath. It's probably going to be more or less the same thing what we've been doing with the previous two examples. But yeah, let me just try it and see what we can come up with. So let's go into our style. Since I'm using the green style for this one, let's select that as the foundation. So green style. I will select my data page, and I'm just going to create the style, and then we'll modify it. So let's go with restaurant NP style, and hit finish. And let's edit once again, and let's start modifying it. So again, if there is a background image or a color, I always like to make my forms transparent. It's just a personal choice. So let's remove this background white. And we're going to do that under layout, source, and we'll just say transparent for both the fields and also our buttons. So we just need to find the submit button container. There it is. So I'll just make that transparent too. Okay, save, reload. Oh, this is the search button. I apologize. I made the transparent background for the submit button. The search button has its own different class. So let's edit the style, layout, and you see, I made the change to the submit button, but we have a search button as well. Delete button, search button. Here we go. Transparent. There we go. And save. Perfect. Now, I actually don't mind having a white background color here. It kind of matches the heading that's right above it, your city. I might actually even remove this from my search form because it's kind of pushing my content down, and I would like to maybe have the search form be up a little bit higher, maybe underneath this heading. Your city, is that useful information to be able to see? Maybe, but I'm just going to remove that from my template really quickly just to see what it looks like. So I'm going to bring in my page here, so my food blog, and we're going to remove that heading, H1, your city, save the template, come back here, reload. Yeah, I think I'm going to like that a little bit more. So let's now put the fields side by side. So let me bring up the inspect element. Before I put them side by side, let me just make a few changes here. Let's do padding. We're probably going to go with 20 pixels again. That seems to be the one constant between all of my forms. So we'll do 20 pixels. Obviously, we're going to remove the labels and we're going to put our placeholder inside the fields. So let's make that adjustment very quickly. So let's edit the style and go into our fields. And we'll say 20 pixels. Okay, save. Perfect. Now let's put the fields side by side. Again, that's done in data pages. And even for the search fields, again, here you can change the opacity. You can bring the opacity so you can bring in that background image into your fields as well, if you like that look, what we did in a previous example. Okay, so we have category. I know this is going to be a drop-down. And then we're going to say, I don't have a lookup table, so let's just do custom values. Let's say category, delete the value, and then you can have maybe restaurants, you can have bars, you can have, I don't know, fast food, just something random. And then we want the name to be next to it. No label, and then we'll say for name, no label. Category and name, I think because the name is usually typically longer, if you're looking for the full name of the restaurant, you probably want to make that field a little bit wider. So in the standard tab, we're going to say pixels, and just for now, we're going to put this to be 600 pixels, and for category, we're going to set this to be 300 pixels. Let's just see what that looks like. I had them side by side. We have our label and placeholder inside the field. Excellent. And let's just see what it looks like. Yeah, not bad. I just know I need to add some padding in my drop-down here. And obviously my placeholder text needs to be a little bit bigger here. And it needed to pop. Maybe we can have the... Yeah, I need to change the size of my field text. So let's look at our drop-down and change the padding here. All right, I think that's good. We're going to change the font size for both of these to be, that's pretty good, 18 pixels. And then I can adjust the padding here a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty clean. So let's do 20 pixels by 10 pixels, and let's change the font size to 18 pixels. So we're going to go back to style. Restaurant. Let's go to fields and let's find form select. Form select is for our dropdowns. Here we go. So we have 20 pixels by 10 pixels and we set 18 pixel font. Now I do want the same thing for my text field here as well. So let's select that and change the font size to 18 pixels. And when I do that, obviously I now need to adjust my padding here a little bit so it fits. Okay, so we'll do 16 pixels. Let's do 15 pixels by 10 pixels and 18 pixel font size and color. Oh, so this is the placeholder color. I have the right color as I type in. This is just a placeholder color. So I'll change the placeholder color to be the same color as this one, which is 333. Okay, I just need to remember everything. 10 pixels by 15 pixels, font size 18 pixels under text field. So text field, we set 15 pixels by 10 pixels. Font size was 18 pixels. And for my placeholder text, not AAA, we want that to be 333. Perfect. Okay. Let's cross our fingers that everything goes well. Excellent. That's pretty good. I'm happy with that. But just for fun, what would happen if we added our opacity here? Just for fun. Oh, 30%. We can adjust that a little bit. I'm not crazy about it. You can change maybe the background color instead of white to be something else. Maybe we do 333. I still don't like that. Let's just see. Because if I make this 100%, then I would need to change my color to be white in here. So you just have to kind of go back and forth and play around with what looks good to you. You may even choose to match this color up above in the navigation menu to be on the same as the field. But it's just a lot of going back and forth until you're happy with the final look. I'm actually pretty happy with the white background and the black text inside as a placeholder. That looks clean to me. My eyes gravitate towards my search form, and I know where I need to go to have some action, what I need to do on the web page. Last thing that we're going to do is put the search button next to our field in the same row. I just making sure that I'm not missing anything here. That's a really good question. How much time do you plan for changing styles when estimating how long a build will take? I always tell people I can build any application, any type of functionality workflow, even if it's 100 data pages, 75 data pages. I can really build that. I'm not kidding. I can build that in a few days. Okay, but the styling, that's the part that takes additional few days for me. You can see it's just a lot of granular, detailed modification going back and forth to make the appearance of the forms look nice to the end user, especially if they're public facing. So it can take a few additional days to change all the styling. So all in all, let's say we're talking about a 50 data page application, probably a week. One full week to build it all. Okay. Because once you hone in on the style that you like on one data page, it's very easy to just apply that style to all of your forms, because you want to keep it uniform. All of your application forms, they need to remain uniform, right? Consistent and cohesive with the template. So when you hone in on that style for one form, well, then you just use that style on all of your other forms with maybe a slight modification depending on if it's a public-facing app versus internal. Internal forms might look a little bit different because when you log into your portal, it's probably not going to look like that, right? Imagine you have a restaurant owner, right, who wants to log into the system and be able to add new restaurants, manage restaurants. It's not going to have this background image, so that report is going to look different. You might have a white background and not a transparent background. So it's just kind of modifying based on what the template is giving you in a way. But yeah, I think that's a good estimate. 1 week to build a 50 data page application and modify all the styling for it, I would say. Okay, so last thing we're going to do is put the button next to our name field. So let's do that. So we're going to go back to our data pages now. So in data pages, we are going to edit the search form, and we're going to create the button and place that button inside an HTML block. We're going to remove disable the toolbar, and then we do in our how-to, we actually have a tutorial on how to do that. So instead of me writing it out from scratch, let's just copy and paste. So search for something called inline, and displaying the submit or search button inline. Inline means inline, in the same row as the other elements. So you can see name, email, and the submit button next to it. So I want to get this style, copy that. Just make sure you change the submit button container to search button container. Okay, and we need the button. So let me come back here and grab the search button, copy that, and paste that underneath. So this is going to hide the original button that's underneath the fields, and this is going to create the new button. Okay, instead of this being in a different language, let's call that filter. And we need to put the HTML block on the same row as the name field. So go back to your name field and just say continue next element on the same line. And let me see. I don't think I want 25 pixels margin on top. So that's going to push my button down. So let's start off with 0 pixels, and then we can modify the spacing around the button. So let's click finish. Hopefully, I don't need to make too many more changes here. Let's just refresh and see what it looks like. Yeah, I do need to make a few more changes. Okay, so I will need to put a background color to be transparent, and that's actually not too difficult to do. HTML block container. So the HTML block container is its own class in Caspio, and you can see because I put my button inside the HTML block container, that has its own properties and values. So we need to find the HTML block container in Caspio. So let's copy that. Go to the style, edit, source, all, Control F. And we're just going to say transparent background. And let me come back here and just make a few more changes so in the real time here. So on the web, so we'll say transparent. Let's see. For the rest of them, I can just go to the submit button and just make the changes. So we'll just do this. So we'll select the button. Height. Obviously, we want to match the height to be the same as our fields. Oh, there's a delay. Okay, so we'll do, I'm just going to try to eyeball this. I think it's going to be about 67 pixels for height. So let me come back to my button and change the search button to be 67 in height. So 67 pixels. Let's come back. What else? No uppercase. We don't like uppercase, or at least I don't like uppercase. Font size, make that a little bigger. And I don't like that it's so bold, right? So I'm going to change that to font weight to be maybe 600, maybe 500. I don't like this font, actually. The Homa font is not looking good right now. Let's see what else. Border radius. Border radius, I think the button's too round. I want to match the same as my fields, so we're going to go with maybe 5 pixels. I think that's good. All right, so I'm just going to copy all of this above the text transform. We're going to copy all of that. And let's come back to my button and just paste that in here, like that. And of course, you have the hover effect, so we need to copy all of that and find search button hover as the very last thing we're going to do. There we go. Paste that here and save. And now we can modify the margin. So we want to move that button to be up a little bit higher. Perfect. So to do that, we are going to select that and oh, actually, no. The 0 margin is already set on my button, so that's not the issue. The issue is the HTML block. You can see it has padding, 15 pixels. So we just need to change the HTML block padding to maybe be, that's pretty good. I would say 3 pixels, maybe 4 pixels. Yeah, not bad. So once again, find your HTML block container. Source, search for everything, HTML block container, and just change this to, what did I say, 4 pixels? I think that's good enough. Save. And reload. There we go. Not bad. Of course, that's one part of it. This is a report, right? So if I click search, oh, it's not a live web page. Sorry. This is still hosted locally, so the search is not going to work until you upload the page to your hosting provider. Okay. The last thing that I would do is I would change this to cursor pointer, so it has a little hand icon signifying that, hey, there's an effect happening here. So I would go back to my style and my buttons. For my search button, I would just say cursor pointer, like that. Save, reload, and now you see the little hand icon. Of course, don't forget to change the background color as well when you hover over the button too. That's going to make it look even nicer. All right, that's all the content that we had for today. I hope you enjoyed today's session. It's really all about styling. As I said at the beginning of our class today, I had to pivot. I know I mentioned I was going to do social logins. We are going to bring that topic back. However, as I mentioned, I ran into a few snags, and I want those to be addressed before I bring that topic in. It's just in terms of functionality, the way connections work. I think it's going to make for a better demo once those fixes are applied inside a platform. So as I mentioned, it's a lot of going back and forth. I know you've seen me repeat a lot of steps. It's repetitive, but I try to make a slight different modification in each one of these, where we have the button next to our fields. We used opacity in the second form for edu to make the form look nice, and then for this one, we didn't really make too many modifications. We just removed the background color, put the fields side by side, and my submit button is left aligned. I could have also made it full width. Thanks, Steven. I appreciate it. I hope you learned something new from today's session too. And guys, don't forget to like the video as well. If you have a moment, just hit the like button. It really does help with the exposure, even after the session, for people to find the video and learn how to modify forms. Next Wednesday, we're going to cover inventory. Okay, so that is the topic for next Wednesday. I'm going to put together a small demo, maybe something with the warehouse where somebody can order maybe upwards of 10 in quantity. I don't like leaving that as a text field. I don't like leaving that open because somebody can order 200 and you may not even have 200. So maybe we limit that to 10. That's what I see on Amazon at least. So when they order, let's say 5 or 6 in a dropdown, then we subtract from what we have in inventory. And then if it falls below, I don't know, a certain threshold, we can put that item on back order and email the admin to add more to that product for inventory. So that's what I'm thinking for next Wednesday. So we might have a few tables. And then obviously we're going to use triggers to subtract when that action takes place on submit. All right, thank you guys so much. Thanks for coming back to the live stream. I know many of you sometimes can't make it, but I do notice that the views go up on the video by the end of the week. So I know that people that cannot make the live stream end up watching the videos. So thank you so much for tuning in every single week. Sounds good. Yeah, me too. It's going to be a fun topic next week on how to put all that together. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the week, and we'll see you in a few days. Take care. Bye-bye.